Today is the first Sunday of the month, and we have our kid-friendly sermon, and so you are all children at heart. I take it that all the unvaccinated children are staying at home today, which is just lovely, but nevertheless, we are going to gear this for children and just live your inner kindergartner. So, when you think about living the good life, which is the title of my sermon, you normally think about people who have lots of money, get to go on lots of vacations, don't have to work very hard, have a lot of fun and no problems. That's living the good life. That's what that phrase means, right? We say, boy, she's living the good life. Got those vacation condos all over the world, skiing in Aspen, summering in cool forests. So, a long time ago, I was a youth group leader at a church, and I had kids from the age of 13 to 18 in my presence. And I said, what do you want in your life? What is going to make your life a rich and great life? Kid number 1, 13-year-old boy, said, I want a big yacht. I want a big, all the sailors are going, exactly. I want a big yacht. Kid number 2, let's see, this was a 15-year-old girl, said, I want a really big, fancy house. Doesn't want to share bedrooms with anyone anymore. I want a big, fancy house where I can have lots of parties. Kid number 3, 17-year-old boy, said, I want an expensive sports car. Are you seeing the trend? These are their aspirations. Kids who've been in my youth group for years, my greatest aspiration in life. Kid number 4, I want to be a famous movie star. That's Michael B. Jordan, by the way. I want to be a famous movie star and be rich. All 4 answers, and I finally said, stop. We're starting all over. I stopped asking the question. That is what we got out of children who went to church every Sunday, did all sorts of service projects, and were in youth group every Sunday. That was their answer. I hope you picked up from the readings today, from Proverbs, it is better to be well thought of than to have all the riches of the world, right? And the letter of James, where he says, you who are rich and privileged, what are you doing to take care of the poor? That the great life, the good life, from a Christian perspective, does not mean having the most expensive toys when you grow up. That is not what the good life means. The good life means being thought well of by other people. That's what Proverbs says. It is better to be well thought of, to be rich in people's opinions of you, than to have all the riches of the world. And later in James, in the second thing that we heard today, James is writing to people, or somebody's writing to people, saying, if you have a lot of things and you're not helping the poor, but you're showing favoritism towards the rich people, what good is that? So he's saying, we all want to hang out with the popular person, the really well-dressed person who has the expensive clothes, and we want to have those things too. But James is saying, what are you doing about this person? This is an unhoused man who hasn't had a bath for a while, and he has holes in his pants and hasn't had any clean clothes for a while, and at one point he had a home and he had a job and he probably had a family, and who knows what circumstances made him not be able to have those things. And James is saying, what are you doing about those people? And a lot of people say, well, this is the meal I want to have. I want to have fun, happy people, smiling children, no problems here, with lots of food on the table. And James is saying, what about this? This is a food bank in New Haven, Connecticut. Those are probably hungry students coming for food because, like many of the college students at UCSD across the street, they don't have enough food to eat, and they can't afford the housing. Oh, is that the end? That is the end of the slideshow. So what we're being challenged to do is figure out how we can take care of people who have a lot less than we do. And this is hard to do at times. It's easier in a church because at a church, we take care of poor people all the time. So if you look in our announcements, you'll see that we're giving people an opportunity to hand out food cards to hungry people every Friday afternoon. Several times a month, people from our church make food and bring it to Rachel's house on a Friday night to feed people. We have had showers for people who don't have any place to take a shower, and we give them a meal and clothing. All wonderful things. So if you're saying, well, how can I do more good things? You can do them through a church. Now, here's the catch. A lot of people think that the church says you have to do good things so that God will love you enough, and then you get to go to heaven because you're a good enough person. But Jesus never says that. Jesus never says it's the amount of good things you do that will save you. Says it's your faith that will save you. The reason that James says it's not your faith, it's got to be works as well, is that he's suspicious of people who came to the church services and were telling the poor people, get out of my way, I want to sit with the rich and famous movie stars. He was suspicious. He said, I don't think that that's actually faith. So the reason that we do good works is to have a rich life in terms of our relationships. To be well thought of means that people want to be around you, that you are rich in relationship, and that these are the actual true riches. Now, I want to show you a very popular game, if we can zoom in, camera people, on the game. Does everybody know the game of Monopoly? Is there anybody who has not played the game of Monopoly? This is probably one of the all-time best-selling favorite games, still popular. I played it when I was a child. And the object of this game, look, it's for 8 years old and up. That's just because you have to do some math in order to pay the rent, right? The object of this game is to buy as many properties as you can, and then to put more things on the property so you can charge people a higher rent, so then they don't have any money and you get all the money and they have no place to live. That is the point of this game. This is the training that we all receive in the United States for how to behave. What would James say about that? Anybody? That is not the game. Instead, the game, the real game, the object of this life is to do as many things as you can, not because God will love you more and you're going to get into heaven. You're going to go to heaven anyway. You are already in God's family anyway, and do not worry about that. The object is to be well thought of, to have so many good things, good actions in your life, that you inspire other people to do good actions, and then we have more people doing good in the world. Look at that story about Jesus today. He was going around the countryside healing people so much that even people who came from the wrong part of town, the Syrophoenicians were the bad guys. They'd done many vicious, evil things to the people of Israel, to the Hebrew people. And even so, this woman said, this man is so good that he's going to help me. I'm just going to beg him to help me because he does so much good. And then he healed the man who could not hear and could not speak, right? He took care of him too. The way people figured out that Jesus was God was that he did so many good things. And the good things that he did were so incredibly better than anything you or I could do, that people said he must be from God. And then the more and more he spoke, they said he must actually be God. He must actually be the promised Messiah. So the way to be more and more like Jesus, the way to be more like he calls us to be, is to do as many good things that we could for the people who have less than us. Now, I live in a neighborhood called Scripps Ranch, which is about 10 miles east of here. Some of you live in that neighborhood too. And I live there because the church gives me a place to live there. And some of my neighbors are still sort of up in arms because a few years ago, the school district decided to take some land that's very close to public transportation, close to the freeway, across the street from a grocery store, close to schools, and to build apartments there, including what we call low-income housing. So this is apartments for people who cannot afford what other people can afford. So they can afford $700 a month for an apartment. Let me show you. I'll get out my money. Instead of $2,000. Now, I know all of you 4th grade and above know exactly what I'm talking about, but we'll say for those of you who are a little younger, most people have to pay this much monopoly money to rent an apartment anywhere near their job. But teachers, police officers, firefighters, people who wash our cars can afford this much. This much. And so, people who build apartment buildings said, we're willing to let this many people out of this many residents, so 20%, have lower rent, and then the rest will be people who are paying this much money for the apartments. And some of our neighbors said, no, we don't want apartments in our neighborhood. That's going to put more traffic, and then we're going to look like that other neighborhood called Mission Valley. And we don't want to look like a neighborhood that has people who can't afford to buy an $800,000 home, do we? Do you see the problem? If we've been taught to play Monopoly, let me get as much land as I can, and you have as little as you can, then when our housing feels threatened, we say, well, I don't want you anywhere near me in your apartments, and I don't want people who can only afford $700 a month in rent. What would James say? Yeah. What do you think he would tell them? Pretend you're 5, just answer me. What do you think James would say? Get over it! Okay. Stop doing that. That it's important to have places for people to live that are affordable, near public transportation, near where they work, right? Yes. So one of the things we can do at church is ask ourselves, how can we keep feeding people? How can we keep clothing people? And maybe someday, how can we help people who don't make as much money as we do live here too? That's living the good life. Amen.